Hello, welcome to week 7 of the Deliverance series. To start off, this is your heads up video, so we're going to start off with a couple of announcements because, man, we're excited. I mean, I'm crazy excited about how God's using this study as we're currently in it, but I'm also excited about how He's already been showing what the next series is going to be for families, which is called Follow Me. Now, what's powerful about this is that we're going to be looking at the Gospels and how Jesus confronts all these different walks of life, these different people, no matter what they're into. He always said, follow me. Now, we start the series when he's calling Peter and Andrew, and he says, I'm going to make you fishers of men. Well, that's how we start. I'm not going to spoil too much of it, but we end the series looking at how Peter and his whole time of being made to become a fisher of men. It closes with Jesus telling him, hey, follow me in John. And so we look at all of those statements, follow me, in all those characters, because it didn't matter what happened up to that moment in their life. The only thing that mattered is how they responded to that follow me when Jesus called them. And every action after that had the potential to impact eternity. And that's what we get as believers in Jesus. When we hear him call us to follow him, we also have that same potential to impact eternity. So I hope you will join us for that series and invite another family. If this Deliverance series has been impactful for you, invite a family to come along with us on the next one, because I'm excited to see what God will do in 2024 in the spring with Follow Me. So invite somebody. So with that, grab your leader guidebook, and we're going to go through some bullet points, because, man, this last week was powerful to look at that word serve in the promise that he had given his people. Well, we're going to see that continue on through the next couple of weeks as we look at how he's going to give us a future promise of a coming perfect, spotless lamb, Jesus Christ. As we walk through, this is the gospel portion of this series that I cannot, man, it's just every time I look at it, something new pops out. And I can't wait to see what your family and your kids pull from this story as well. So make sure that you slow down this week and really pay attention to whether or not your kids are understanding the gospel. That's why the heads up section is the straight up Romans road. It's the easy peasy gospel. And so if you're not familiar with how to present it or how to walk through it, the good to know section in their Deliverance guide series is going to help you, give you the right scriptures to just walk right through that process to ensure that your kids understand the sacrifice of Jesus and what that means to them, and that they can hear God called them to follow him too. Okay, so first, a couple things that I want to point out. All right, so you grab a pen and jot this down. Verse 3. And the reason that I would have you, as you're writing that down, the reason that I have you asterisk verse 3 is because this is for every house. This isn't for Moses to do once or for Moses to run around and do on all the houses. This responsibility falls on each family to do. And remember, last week we were talking about how God is very clearly making a distinction between the Egyptians and his people. Well, it's also, I want you to note that this responsibility is even for the Israelite people. So even the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they also had to do this. This plague was also for them. If they didn't obey, if they didn't serve and fear God, and they didn't do what he told them to do, they were going to fall under the punishment of the next plague. Now, I'm also going to point out verse 5, okay, because that points at the spotless lamb. That's going to make a lot of sense as we get into this week's digging deeper, okay, because it's the picture of Jesus and him being the pure spotless lamb. The next verse I would highlight is verse 19, and it talks about leaven and the importance of making sure that leaven is removed from their houses for a whole 7 days as they celebrate this in the future. Well, the reason for that is because leaven is a picture of sin, okay, in the Bible. So that sets up this picture of the Seder dinner, the same dinner that Jesus would use with his disciples to talk about, hey, this is what I'm accomplishing. Remember that feast that has been instituted from all the way back from when our people walked out of Egypt? Well, God's going to institute those things. They're going to remember those things because it's a picture of the coming Christ, okay? And what God is accomplishing in a picture here, he's going to accomplish in finality with Jesus Christ. So everything we're looking at, all these things have meaning. Just like in verse 22, where hyssop is used to put the blood of the pure spotless lamb on the door and the lintel. The reason for that is because the hyssop shrub was used for purification it was a sign of spiritual cleansing. So as God instructs them to do this, they would have picked up on the symbolism of using this purification shrub to dip it in the blood and then cover it in their house. Now, every house member had to do this. And so they had to be covered. Their house, their home had to be covered in the blood of the pure spotless lamb for the plague of death to not visit their firstborn in the home. Okay. So also asterisk and highlight that the firstborn is very important that we remember that too, because that's actually, we're going to see as we move into later parts in Exodus, that's where the Levitical tribe comes from, is those firstborns that God goes, I call that people to myself. So that's just a really cool side note as well. And then lastly, put a big old giant star, and this is where I'm going to slow down a little bit. For verse 25 to 27, I want you to spend time as mom and dad, not necessarily pointing this out to your kids, although you can because of the importance of family here. But this is my heart to your heart, and really this is God's heart to your heart. In this study alone, God's very specifically telling His people, "Hey, I want you to know that it's your responsibility to translate my character." Remember that name that He's been telling them. I'm going to reveal this new name. I am the I am. I'm the God that's always been. And as we looked at last week, He's stronger than all the gods that they would have known or talked about. He's saying, I've always been. I'm the creator. I'm the creating God. I'm the one that created you. I control all things. I'm omniscient. I'm omnipotent. Remember those? We studied those already. Well, God is going, hey, I'm revealing myself as the I am here. And I want you to translate that faithful, loving character of who I am from one generation to the next. So when your kids ask, you should be able to translate that knowledge, that truth from one generation to the next. So that's a fantastic privilege, honor, but also responsibility. So thank you guys for jumping in and doing this study every single week and being there so faithfully to do that, because that's exactly what you're taking part in, is this tradition that God designed your family to do together as a team. So with that, I'll leave the rest. I'm very excited about this week's Digging Deeper, so don't miss it, because it is such a powerful picture of the gospel and the story that God's always been telling. So I'll see you on Wednesday for Digging Deeper. Have a great week. God bless.